I think it's 30. I think it is. Let's find out. Okay, yeah, it is. That's you. I see myself now. I see myself. Okay, let's do the things now. Tuck. There we go. And tuck. And tuck. Silly sounds, don't worry about it. That's okay. Well, I do things. Okay, so yeah. Just here. Here. Okay, here we go. I think I posted and everything. Hi everyone. Hi hi. Good morning. Hi hi. I am so sorry. I'm alright. Holy bejeebus. 35 months. Heck yeah. Thank you for the read. Getting bored while I go to sleep. This is a better option. Absolutely better than being bored. Hey, Gaston. First baseball game in like 3 months. Nice. You can do it. You can do it. Hey, Bomb Alley. Hi, hi. Hope you're doing well. Okay, I think this is done here, right? So, we're ready for things. We're ready for things. Hi, hi. Hope you're doing well. Okay, let's see. Yeah, okay, so. Ah. You actually have windows in your office. I do, actually, yeah. I do. I am right? I think. I actually have windows, yes. They're, blinders and all that. But, hey, Glagon. Hope your thingies go well. I do have windows in the VRC office. They're there, in the exact same place. You just don't actually see them, but they're there. Well, unless I turn the camera, because I'm usually, you know, turned the opposite way. The camera tends to be where the windows are. So, you don't see the windows unless I turn the camera. Which I've done a few times. Since the office in VRChat is the exact same in terms of positioning of everything to my real office because it's a duplicate. So, windows are behind the camera, usually. You're just seeing the rest inside. Which is okay. Most of the placement is the same in this picture, with some, artistic differences to make it a bit more full and all that. But thank you all for being here. I hope you all are doing well. We'll be doing more Armored Core. Probably is also gonna be the last day of Armored Core because I got a feeling I'm close enough to finish it. So I'm probably gonna finish the game. Um, which is good because next week Cyberpunk 2077 will be out at 2.0. Oh, right. Shed some light in the Unity situation. How can I put this? The Unity situation? In, um, in a fairly coherent, constructive way. Um, in a way that is clear and civilized of what's going on with Unity. Um, I think I can put this in a very special way, you know, very civilized, calmly put, as calmly as possible, and say that um, the Unity higher ups, especially their CEO, is a fucking asshole and he should just go fuck himself. That's my very civilized take as much as possible. Saying that you're fired up at the end. Oh, Jesus Christ, I am. Hey, Travis. Hi, hi. Welcome to stream. But basically, it's like, for those who may not be in the know about the Unity situation, so I say this as someone who, when a company is run by morons, that's to put it very nicely, very lightly. But anyway, so as someone who is an ex indie dev, mm, um, that comes from Unreal, right? I worked with Unreal Engine before. Not Unity. I use Unity now. I also like their explanation tweet. I know. It's a thing. Literally the original guy who made. Yes, yes, yes. So, um, John Riccitello. A lot of people say his name differently, but Riccitello, I think, is the correct way. Richie, because it's a weird thing. It's Riccitello. John Riccitello. Is this corporate asshole. Okay, there's no other way of putting it. He's this corporate asshole. Hmm? Um, the type of greedy asshole, right? Um, who just became the CEO of Unity from being the CEO of Electronic Arts, like Ali was saying over there. Um, he essentially was one of the main culprits of giving EA a bad name because he completely destroyed EA from the inside at the time with tons of greedy bullshit. He was one of the driving for the previous CEO before John Riccitello at EA already did the bang up job of fucking shit up. Bichitello, yes. His new name is Bichitello. Yep. um, and then he took over EA and he made sure that he made it even worse, right? EA is actually getting better now. Shock, horror. I know, I know, I know. Who would have guessed it? It's actually getting better. It's still not perfect because the issue is that the culture remained, right? Because of the the shareholders of EA were used to John Riccitello's keeping their pockets filled up, right? So the current EA CEO has a bit of a problem with keeping them still happy, but not being overly an asshole. So what did they do exactly? So in his infinite wisdom, John Riccitello decided to change the pricing scheme and licensing scheme for Unity. So Unity has multiple types of licenses. There was an actual free license, which is the personal, and for indie, which up to 200,000? 200,000? I think so. 200,000 sales or something. It would be free. You could just use Unity for free. For an indie game, this is totally fine, right? So it's totally okay. Up to 200,000 sales, you're fine. So if your game doesn't do well, you don't pay them anything. It's fine. This was before, right? This was before. Yeah, someone did the math. It's fantastic. Yeah, so, this was fine. This was okay. This made sense. It was friendly for, for indies and everyone. If the game does well, you can lose money. Yeah, that's the thing. Even if the game does bad, you can lose money. That's the funny part. Um, so if you did, for example, actually get to the threshold of, your game did good, you went over the 200,000 mark, still fine. It wasn't a massive disaster, and you had the option of upgrading to Unity Pro license, which was $400 a year. Okay, so if your game is doing good, if your game is doing good, um, or going over the 200,000 threshold of sales, 400 a year is technically nothing. This is nothing, 400 a year is nothing. It's fine. This would actually lower the royalty fees for Unity, so you'd actually, in the end, make more money, which, perfectly fair. Enter this change. So, what does this change do? It doesn't matter if you do good or bad. You're gonna get fucked. So, um, I think the threshold, I think it was lowered to 100,000 or something. I don't remember. Um, but you pay royalties above the threshold, even if you're in within the free license. That you pay 20 cents. This is at a glance, it seems to be nothing. It's 20 cents. What is this? Per install. Picture this. Per install. That's only a few months of peace. Yeah, yeah. Per install. Let this sink in. Okay? Let this sink in. Well, everyone should convert. Yeah, pretty much. There's more than just the Unreal Engine, right? But I'll get to that. I'll get to that. It's okay. I'll get to that. I'll get to that. I'm giving this as the perspective of someone who was an ex-indie dev. And this is why I'm upset. Because I know how much this is tricky for people. Because I can see their perspective, right? They won't count reinstalls. I'll explain what they say there. I'll explain what they say. Unity's still fucking itself. Yeah. I'll explain that part, Wago. You. This will make sense, okay? So, how are they? Did wait, I'm not done yet. Wait, you'll probably pull back. I will get to the pullback too. I'll get to the pullback too. So let's assume, right, that your game does go well, but just like, okay, so the game is going well. I still have the Unity Pro option, right? Because it still lowers that thing to 1 cent, up to 75, something like. Anyway, I think you can lower to 10 cents at least, with Unity Pro per install. It's a bit more manageable. It was 400 a year, right? No. So when they they made sure that you would pay 20 cents per install. Because what did they do? They increased the price of Unity Pro. It's no longer 400 a year. It's 2,000 a year now. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. Okay? 2,000 a year. After this change. This is to ensure that you stay in the level that you have to pay 20 cents. Because in the end, 20 cents per install throughout an entire year is actually more than the 2,000 of Unity going in. So, it's terrible, right? If it was still 400, it would still be bullshit, but less of a bullshit if it was 10, with the possibility of going lower if you went above 1 million threshold or something. But you don't have that luxury, right, anymore. So some people did the math. There was an indie game that was in the Epic Game Store for free for like a week as a special promo thing and so on. It sold 7 million copies for free, but it's still considered a sale. So 7 million purchases. Let's assume that everyone only installs it once, not in multiple computers, or had to reinstall Windows and they needed to reinstall it again. Let's assume it was indeed just one install per per unit of those 7 million. The person did the calculations and he didn't even say what the calculations were in the end. He just said that once the system kicks in, he'll be owing Unity more than he ever did in his entire lifetime. This is the thing. So I can only imagine. I can only imagine how much he'd have to pay. So other people were like, okay, if we're within the threshold, then we sell the 100,000, for example, or 200,000, and we do the little fee of 20 cents. They'd have to pay something like 20,000, 20,000 a month, a month. Let that sink in, okay? A month per install. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. So it's like no, and but it gets worse, it gets worse. So why does it get worse? It's obviously their aim is to have individuals use their engines. Oh yeah, it's absolutely working. Yes, this is like how to destroy your entire company 101. This is textbook example of what not to do. I want to entirely destroy the goodwill you've built with the community for 20 years. Saying enough for obscene amount and see, here's the thing. What other problems this brings, right? The review bombs. Let's say that thing of, people don't like the game in Steam and they do those review bombs, right? Want to see what it looks like to shoot ourselves in the foot? Yeah, hey, Redeemer. Welcome to the stream. So, review bombs, they suck, right? But technically, they don't affect anything directly financially. It's something that can be recovered, right? It's a review bomb. If we use the example of, for example, No Man's Sky, it was also a review bomb. And the way it launched, I can see why. But the game is way more than they even promised now. So the game is actually a very positive or even overwhelmingly positive. At one point, it was overwhelmingly positive on Steam, but now it's very positive, actually. Um, so what happens is that if someone install bombs, and you can script this install, right? You can script this install. So you can have a script that automatically uninstalls, installs, uninstalls, installs, uninstalls, installs. If you imagine that a game sells these, let's go for just the 100,000, right? 100,000. If everyone that bought the game from the 100,000 decides to do this install bomb and does 5 installs per, you have 500,000 installs. Okay? 500,000 installs. Then you multiply that per the 20 cents per install. If it's a small indie dev studio, you just bankrupted the studio. Okay? The studio is bankrupt, owing 100,000 to Unity. Let this sink in. They don't even have time to receive the money from the sales because it's 30% given to Steam, using Steam only as an example. Because if they release across multiple platforms like PlayStation and Xbox, that also counts. If there's a mobile version, that also counts. I'm not even talking about web versions. Web versions are going to be their own thing. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. Surely be thought of this. I'm also going to get there. There's a whole thing, you know? You all know what is insider trading in the world of stock and, the stock market, insider trading? I'll explain in a moment. I'll explain in a moment. So, and you're like, you notice that I actually left the web options, the web option of a game on the side. So you know those games that use the Unity runtime, but as a web game, right? So every time you open that web page with the game, each time you open it is an install. It's considered an install for them. They actually said this because someone asked. The reply was that each time the page is loaded, it counts as an install. You wanna install bomb that? F5, 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 repeatedly. Just build a script in a virtual machine, right? That just opens the web page and refreshes it once every 10 seconds or 20 seconds. Leave it sitting there for an entire day. At the end of the day, they're owing billions to Unity. Let that sink in. Let that sink in for you for a bit. Doesn't even matter if it's a free web game. They'll be owing billions at the end of a single day to Unity. Let that sink in. Okay? Okay, so let's continue. It gets worse. It gets worse. So, this is fantastic. So what happens? So, Dragon above mentioned that, they said that they have ways someone is going to be thrown out the window. I'll get to that in a moment. At the end of 2020. Yes. Hey, Vane. Hi. Welcome to the stream. Hope you enjoy. We're talking about Unity. Oh, it was already bad enough. Oh, yeah. It gets worse. Hey, Runic. Welcome to the stream. So, let's assume, okay? Let's assume. This time, let's assume that you're. I think I just saw someone fall outside your window. So let's assume that you are, indeed, a part of Unity, okay? You're a person. You're not a higher up. You're not the CEO. You're not a shareholder. You're not a shareholder. You're not a CEO, okay? You're just one of those people that are the actual developers of Unity. These people make no decision. They make no decision on these things, This is a corporate decision. This is John Riccitello level of bullshittery, okay? So, Unity has lost a large chunk of their staff now. Do you know why? Because for the past, I think it was several weeks, probably months even, but several Unity devs, as in actual devs from the Unity staff, quit after the announcement. Because for the past several weeks, everything we're complaining about, they were telling the higher ups, okay, what are you going to do about this situation? This can't work. What about this? 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 What about this situation? How is this going to work? What are we going to do? The higher ups just said, we'll address your concerns uh, soon. We're going to be studying everything you said and before we announce anything. You think they did it? No. They just did the announcement. Catching all of the Unity staff, the actual devs of Unity, the ones that care for real about the thing, just caught everyone off guard. As much as us were caught off guard, the Unity staff was caught off guard. And so they quit. Exec were like, thank you for your input. Anything else? Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Thank you for your input. Anything else? No? Bye bye. And so they quit. Because essentially they couldn't work for such a thing anymore. They stopped believing what they were working on the moment that happened. So several have been quitting, apparently in the thousands, but we don't know. This is maybe an hyperbolic number, but a large chunk quit. That much we know. A large chunk quit. We don't know how big the chunk is, but we know a large chunk quit. Um, on the spot. So, but it gets worse. And you're like, how the fuck can this get worse? Biggest name games and still use Unity. Genshin Impact, Honkai Impact, Honkai Star Rail, VR Chat, Chill Out VR. Cult of the Lamb, Among Us. Do I need to keep going? There's more. So many more. Bone Lab, Boneworks. Hey Ray, welcome soon. Welcome say. Pretty much 90% of the existing VR games are made in Unity, with very few exceptions. All those games? Blade and